It was a weekend for the ages, and now the top masters and teenage athletes are moving on. We'll run through all the division winners and highlight the best performances from the age group quarterfinals next on Game Central. Hi everybody, welcome to this age group quarterfinals recap edition of Game Central presented by GOWOD, the official mobility partner of the Noble CrossFit Games. We had our third and final weekend of quarterfinals action as the age group athletes look to get one step closer to a trip to Madison, Wisconsin and the 2022 Noble CrossFit Games. The teenagers and the masters athletes had 5 tests over a 3-day period, and let's start with our top performers for the masters on the women's side. It's Anita Tucker in the 35 to 39-year-old division who finishes first. Cheryl Brost, a former individual games athlete, she finishes first in the 50 to 54-year-old division, and Patty Faya in the 65 plus. On the men's side, Sam Dancer in his first year of eligibility in the 35 to 39-year-old age group will finish first. Sean O'Neill is your top athlete in the 50 to 54-year-old division, and then Leonardo Lima in the 55 to 59. This week we have not just one, but 2 top performers from the age group quarterfinals presented by Monster Hydro, the official energy drink of the CrossFit Games. And we start with Lynne Knapman trying to make her 12th straight appearance at the CrossFit Games. Right now unofficially in 4th place in the 60 to 64-year-old division. Knapman has finished inside the top 10 every time she has been to the games, and she's been on the podium twice in her career, 2nd and 3rd place in the 55 to 59-year-old division in 2015 and 2016. But she has never stood atop the podium. Knapman has finished 4th place the last 4 years in a row. Over on the men's side, got to give our top performer to Sam Dancer. He said he wanted to win his division in the first year of eligibility. He won the final event to break a 1-point close race with Brian Wong, unofficially right now for the win. Workout number 3 was the only finish that Sam had outside of the top 4. Let's take a look now at our top teenager athletes after 5 tests in the age group quarterfinals. And it's Lucy McGonigal out of Ireland taking it for the 14 to 15-year-old girls. Olivia Kerstetter, no surprise there. Right now your top athlete in the 16 to 17-year-old division. And for the boys, RJ Mestre and Johan Roberts. Here is Kayla Banfield with a closer look at what went down this past weekend in the teenage divisions.
15-year-old RJ Meester takes the win in the boys' 14 to 15-year-old division. Winning the CrossFit Games last year as a 14-year-old, it's no surprise that he's still at the top of his age group. RJ started the weekend strong with a 3rd, a 2nd, and a 3rd. The CrossFit total gave him his lowest placing for the weekend with 19th, but he redeemed himself by rounding out the weekend with a win in workout 5. Over on the girls' side, the 14 to 15-year-old girls had a clear winner, with Lucy McGonigal not budging from the top all weekend. Her valiant efforts saw her finish with 3 firsts and 2 seconds, making her the one to beat leading into semis. And of course, how could we talk about the teens without bringing to light Olivia Kerstetter's standout performance, where she dominated the 16 to 17-year-old division. Olivia walked away from the weekend with 3 firsts, a 2nd and a 3rd, with an extremely impressive CrossFit total of 835 pounds. As always, our age group athletes are showing us what's possible no matter your age. And Sean, this weekend was really exciting, but we still have so much ahead of us this season.
Thank you so much, Kayla, and congratulations to all the teenage athletes who are moving on to the next stage of the 2022 Noble CrossFit Games season. Back on the Masters side, we had a really impressive breakout performance in the men's division in the 50 to 54-year-old age group. Sean O'Neill finishes first in the 50 to 54-year-old division. He's out of CrossFit HWPO in New Zealand. Sean has never been to the CrossFit Games, and it was really his day 1 performance that got him right now to the top of the leaderboard. All the athletes in his division really had a rough time in the final 3 events, but O'Neill had a 5th and a 13th on day 1, and that is what allowed him to finish right now on top of the overall standing. Sean O'Neill's performance over the weekend was certainly impressive, but it was not the only one that we saw in the age group divisions, and for more on that, here's Lauren Smith.
Thanks, Sean. These are my top 5 performances of the AGQ quarterfinals presented by Whoop. And we're going to kick things off with a recognizable name and a 5-times Games athlete, Frederick Egidius. He competed in the 35 to 39-year-old category for the first time and racked up an unofficial score of 3 minutes 44 seconds by going completely unbroken in workout number 1. It was the fastest time worldwide, and combined that with a second place finish in workout number 2, and he closed out the opening day at the top of the leaderboard. Now, you're probably wondering why this is so impressive from a former Games athlete. Well, he's actually spent 90% of the year focusing on Annie Thorisdottir's super team rather than his own athletic endeavours. So he's basically a super dad now. For pick number 2, probably someone you've heard of before. She's a 7-times Games athlete and a former champion. Patty Thea absolutely dominated workout number 2. She debuted in the 65 plus category, and she was the only athlete to execute muscle-ups. She didn't just execute muscle-ups, she got 4 of them, and it put her miles ahead of the rest of the field. Following a 5th place finish in the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games, 56-year-old Dr. Shanna Bunce had a remarkable weekend. Now, if you asked her, she would probably point to workout number 2 because it was a personal highlight. She strung together kipping muscle-ups for the first time in almost 4 years. However, for me, her success was typified by workout number 3. Her rope climb speed and the consistency even under fatigue saw her finish 10 reps ahead of her next nearest competitor. Now, in the boys 16 to 17-year-old category, Johan Roberts from New Zealand closed out day 4 at the top of the leaderboard. His last attempt of CrossFit total hit a combined weight of 245 kilograms. Now, I want you to keep that number in your mind. Event 4 was the strongest of the weekend, with a 197 kilogram back squat, a 91 kilogram strict press, and a 212 kilogram deadlift. His total was 500 kilograms. That's almost double his last recorded effort, and why that performance was so unbelievably impressive. Now, to close things out, let's go to an old favourite, Sam Briggs. She came into her own on workout number 5 in the women's 40 to 44-year-old category with a time of 1 minute and 25 seconds faster than the rest of the field with a 10:52. She was just one of 3 Brits that finished in the top 5 after the weekend closed out, and Kelly Frail and Kelly Marshall also secured their unofficial progress to the next stage of competition. But for Sam Briggs, she's gonna have a decision to make. Does she compete within her age group, or does she take that backfill position offered to her to head to strength and depth as an individual to close out her competitive CrossFit career and make it to the CrossFit Games, fingers crossed? Well, time will tell. Now, it would be remiss if I didn't close out this section with an honorary mention. Tommy Marquez, Chase Ingram, Annie Sakamoto all took on the AGQs this weekend, and they did us proud. Guys, huge congratulations on your effort. Well done, team. It's been a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Lauren. We also had some really tight races taking place across some of the age group divisions, specifically at the top of the overall standings. And we start on the women's side in the 50 to 54-year-old division. Cheryl Brost and Taya Gebby going toe-to-toe is the favorite against the newcomer, and the favorite wins. Brost right now beats Gebby by 6 points. That's unofficial. Brost did not win an event, but she did finish inside the top 6 in every test. Gebby did have an event win. She won the opening event, and that should be a good battle to watch as we move on to semifinals. One of the big surprises that we saw over 3 days of competition in the age group quarterfinals was Lemerson Caporale in the 55 to 59-year-old division for the men. He came in as the favorite to possibly win the whole thing. Annie Sakamoto mentioned that he was a man to watch. Unfortunately, he finishes 41st and will not be moving on to the semifinals right now. He was the favorite because he was the top performer in the division out of the Open. He never had any finish in the quarterfinals inside the top 30. In fact, 32nd was his best score in workout 4, the CrossFit total. He has never qualified for the CrossFit Games, and it doesn't look like it is going to happen in 2022. What are our top takeaways over the past weekend? Well, Tommy Marquez is here with that, presented by Erosti.
I'm not going to lie, Sean. I had a chance to tackle these 5 workouts this past weekend as a part of the 35 to 39 division. And I got to say, if you're looking for maybe something else to do in this upcoming weekend besides maybe going to Home Depot and reseeding your lawn, I would highly recommend you give these workouts a try at home or at your affiliate, because not only were they a blast, they gave us some amazing takeaways from this past weekend, starting with a time-honored tradition and a hard and fast rule that has been forged throughout the ages. You know the rule, it's 1 fedora per group. That means only 1 mistake per weekend tops, which is relevant here because if you're trying to make it through to the semifinals in the age groups, you could realistically only have about 1 bad workout in the bunch. Given the cut structure, down to 30 per division, even in the most hotly contested age groups, we're seeing athletes around the cut line have 1 workout account for as high as 50% or more of their total accrued points. But very rarely were there athletes with 2 finishes well below the average finish needed to qualify that managed to make the cut. Relatively speaking, that means someone could bomb a workout and still be able to balance it out and qualify. Consistency winning the day per usual. Up next, we had a surprising number of 2021 Games champions. Yeah, you heard that right. Champions come up short in terms of winning their age division in the quarterfinals. Now, the age groups by nature, they're a constantly evolving competitive landscape, but the fact that I really don't think athletes were holding back their best efforts during this round of competition, and B, not even a single Games champion managed to win their quarterfinal round is astounding and points to how quickly things can change stage to stage. Now, certain champs didn't compete to defend their crown, like Whitney Gallin, Tia Vesser, Kevin Kester, Susan Clark, and the recently retired Kyle Kaspervar. Congrats, Kyle, by the way. But still, that means Maxine Gouillon, Kelly Friel, Jason Grubb, Andy Sakamoto, Vincent Deepus, Lori Mashiznik, Will Powell, Ken Ogden, and Patty Bauer. Whew, deep exhale. All were bested somehow this past weekend, and that type of parity, it pumps me up. And finally, the major youth movement in the sport across the individual divisions has increased the attention on the teenage divisions as the incubator for the next generation of CrossFit Games stars. Take Johan Roberts, for example. We heard Lauren break down his CrossFit total, but in addition to Johan unofficially winning the boys 16 to 17 division, he just so happens to be the son of Annika Roberts, the 16th place finisher in the women's Oceania quarterfinals this season, who also happens to be signed up to compete at the Torian Pro for the plus 6'4" Army Onyx team. Mix in the winners that Kayla mentioned earlier in the show, and we're looking at another batch of next-gen athletes rising the ranks through the teenage division, and it extends past just the winners. Athletes like Sophie Schaff, Trista Smith, the Subiano brothers, and more warrant our attention as they continue to build their fitness and results in stages like the quarterfinals and look forward to the future of the sport. And speaking of the future, I think I have an ice bath and a nap in my future, Sean, after all the working out this past weekend. But in the very least, the 5 tests across this weekend gave us some amazing takeaways to look forward to the rest of the season.
Thank you, Tommy. The age group online quarterfinals were not the only thing going on over the weekend. We also had the occupational games as we crowned the fittest man and woman in certain occupational categories. And here are the winners for the women. Shaylin Laurie won 2 categories. More on her in a second. Military veterans and law enforcement officer. And for firefighters, it was Sarah Vies. We also crowned the fittest first responder, medical professional, educator, college student, and active duty military. Shaylin Laurie came up with 5 event wins across 2 divisions. She won 2 in the law enforcement officer category and 3 in the military veteran category. Now, she has never been to the games, but she finished 26th at the 2021 Mid-Atlantic CrossFit Challenge semifinal. Let's head over to the men's side for the occupational games, and a familiar name also winning 2 categories. Angelo DeChico takes first place for the firefighters, and he also takes first place for the first responders. Angelo DeChico trains out of CrossFit Mayhem. He's 22 years old. He's a former two-time teenage champion. Last year, he finished 19th in the last chance qualifier. His only event win in the Occupational Games came in the opening workout in both the firefighter and first responder divisions. Remember that all scores in the age group online quarterfinals and the Occupational Games are unofficial right now, pending review. And for all the leaderboards in every category, you can head to games.crossfit.com. We want to thank our sponsor for today, GOWOD, the official mobility partner of the Noble CrossFit Games, designed with one goal in mind: to get you to perform at your best. You can download the app now for a free mobility test and a 14-day trial. With quarterfinals out of the way, it is now on to the semifinals. The semifinals for the individuals and the teams begin on May 20th. They go 4 consecutive weekends through June 12th. And remember, the individuals and teams will be in person. The age groups and the adaptive athletes, those will take place virtually. So we will have 10 in-person semifinals, as well as 3 being held virtually to decide who winds up in Madison, Wisconsin for the 2022 Noble CrossFit Games. And speaking of Madison, Wisconsin, our series Miles to Madison is out now. The first 2 episodes can be viewed on the CrossFit Games YouTube channel, and episode 3 debuts this Thursday, April 28th, and we leave you with a sneak peek. On the next Miles to Madison.
It feels really good to be in Rogue headquarters. It's a little bit intimidating, but it's very cool to be here.
Well, I've never seen anything like this before.
22.2! I feel ready for everything. I love box jumps, but I don't think we'll see those again.
22.2 is...
Oh my God, that's so heavy. I'm scaling this one.
I really kind of want to make a statement like, last year wasn't a fluke for me. I'm going to be around for a while.